Howdy, and welcome to the Dim and Wit Odd Cast, coming to you from the Bayou City of Houston, Texas.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
I'm Brian. That's my brother from another mother, Dave. That's my other brother from another mother yet, Dave. Let's talk about stuff.
Okay. Howdy,
Who are
everybody.
you?
I'm Wit,
I'm Dim.
and welcome to our very first Oddcast. Thanks to our producer, Brian, for dragging us kicking and screaming into the studio today.
I think that's probably correct.
I think it's less kicking and screaming and more,
I was just told to show up.
right. I think it's something we've been wanting to do for a while, and we just needed somebody to help us.
Actually get us
Actually
motivated and get us
Yeah.
basically take all the responsibility part away from us and just tell us to show up.
Right.
I think that's basically
yeah,
the best part about
that
the
makes
whole
us the talent, right?
thing. Well, are we?
In this equation.
In this equation. Okay.
Right.
Absolutely. In this equation, we can absolutely be the talent. I don't know about all situations. So how are we going to do this? Do we just want to stare at each other for like an hour and then call it quits?
Well,
or?
I think that might be exciting for some people.
Okay.
I think that's probably the minority of folks.
Uh-oh.
So I think that what we should do is start with how did we start, right?
Yeah.
So start at the beginning.
So basically start
What
with
a silly
the
thing.
number one question that we get at conventions and Renaissance festivals.
What the fuck is this?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
the one we get for the entire show. And you used it right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning. Well, we got to get it out of the way.
Okay. All right. No, that's all good.
Well, and it was a direct quote.
That is
So-
true. That was Gillian Anderson.
Gillian Anderson, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Not
I
to
think-
name drop, but we'll be doing that a lot on this podcast.
absolutely.
So,
That is something I think we'll be doing quite often. So basically, what is dim and wit?
well, so let's start with the
Do you want to start with the
where
when?
did this start from?
Where did it start from? Where did it come from?
Right.
That 70s
70s Canadian anime.
that we watched back. Yeah, that I
Back
mean that
in-
was where it
when we were
originated.
little.
Was that 70s Canadian anime that you all are
The
so
Fuddruckers,
familiar
right?
with it. Yeah,
Right. The
yeah,
Fuddruckers.
yeah, something like that. No, that's not how it started.
No, it started back in the early 2000s. I did a fairy outfit called the Scary Fairy for Halloween,
2001.
2003.
Okay.
So close, but and then 2009, I broke it out again and did it for Halloween. We did a pub crawl on Montrose and Westheimer for Halloween, and it was a big hit. So I started trying to get Dem to do it with me at the Renaissance Festival.
And I absolutely refused
Absolutely refused.
because I did not like doing color at the Renaissance Festival.
Yeah,
It was
everything-
black outfits
Or
it was-
tights.
or tights. Absolutely. It was black outfits. It was
Pirates. It was executioners. It was very serious.
absolutely. It was
Uh,
very goth. It was very dark.
Somewhere in that year, you discovered tights because you had that rose.
I had rose and like a magenta
Velvet
it was,
tights.
Yeah, velvet tights. It was the velvet pair from the Renaissance Festival. that I
Right.
got those.
The fair
from.
pair.
Was it the fair
The
pair?
fair pair.
Oh, yeah. So
One of
I-
many shout outs we'll be doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is not a endorsement, it's just fan. They make great stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And as we go along, some
There'll
of
be
the
a
things
lot.
we'll be answering is where do we get our stuff and do we make it or that kind of stuff. So as we go along, you'll hear us talk about all the people that have supported us
Throughout the years,
throughout the years.
because there have
which-
been a lot of really good ones.
Yeah, so we did. I mean, it's been a long time. We started in 2010, right?
Yep.
The Halloween 2010 at the Renaissance Fest, the Texas Renaissance Festival. I guess I should be specific. We've been to
Yep.
a few.
We need to probably we'll list them out at some point.
Yeah. And what's funny is the number of people who claim to have met us
At ones we haven't been
at ones we haven't been at, or in
Yep.
years before we started this.
which is becoming rare and rarer because there are not that many people that are
yeah, kind of
older than us at this
aged
point.
out at this point. Yeah,
we pretty much.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we did it as a one day. Let's be silly. What's the farthest thing from pirates that we can get? And we decided to do fairies.
So you wore, if I remember correctly, pink tights,
Pink tights.
pink shirt,
Yeah, kind of a magenta.
and
Pink
like a
shirt.
pinkish tutu.
Yeah, so I
That's-
had the tutu that my friend Wendy had made for me for the original Scary Fairy
Mhm.
costume, and it was pink
Yeah.
and lavender mixed.
So it was very pink.
Very pink. Yeah, very.
I was wearing brown.
You were more moth.
Yeah, I was
than
much
butterfly,
more.
yeah.
And everybody says we were so colorful. Yeah, because I look back at that and I'm just ashamed now.
Well, we were just
Oh,
looking at a
I was-
picture
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
of that first time, right? And I
And those
had
baby
the,
face kids that.
the really dark brown beards.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah, not the Santa Claus that we are now.
I had just started growing my hair out, so I had kind of the little pigtail fraggles going.
Yep.
And
That was definitely a look. That's
Yeah, it was-
definitely that's what our logo has you in to
Yep,
this day.
that's very true. Still had the pigtail fraggles, and
yeah.
we didn't even have names. We weren't even
Nope.
dim and
we
wet,
just
right?
we just went and it was a specific day in your life. It was a specific day in your life.
That's true. That was that was my 5th anniversary, and my wife Suzanne was in Germany for work, and so the interesting part of that day. I mean, everybody loved us, right? People were coming
We
up
got
wanting a
so
picture
many
with
picture
us.
taken.
They were wanting hugs, which the whole hug thing was new, but I finally got a point where I could call her and wish her happy anniversary and tell that I missed her. And every 10 seconds on that phone call, I was being interrupted as more people wanted pictures and stuff like that. To her finally, she just like, "I'll call you later." And
She was not
She
happy
was
with
not-
us for. She was very unhappy with me, I think specifically because I had finally agreed to it, and it just happened to be that weekend,
Right.
Halloween weekend of the Texas Renaissance Festival, and we went not knowing that it was going to explode.
yeah, so not only was she not there to see the birth of Dim and Wit, but she was completely out of the country.
And
And-
it was also
And it was at the
Yeah.
time that was going to be the only time we did that.
that was
right?
that was the original. And then I remember getting in the truck going, I had a good time. I really had a good time. And then deciding to give you a call on the way home. And I was like, I asked you if we were going to do this again.
Right. And I said I had a good time. I mean, I had a great time.
We had a blast.
Everybody that we ran into really seemed to enjoy it. So
Then basically I said, well, I have names for us. And that's when I said Dim and Wit, the Fairy Brothers.
right. And I said, that's fantastic. I'm Wit.
I said, that's how I see it. Because at the time, my anxiety did not let me talk. And so I didn't really say any words. I just pointed it at Wit and let him do all the talking, which after a couple festivals, that changed.
Well, it
Um,
was a few years into it before you started talking. Well, you started talking as a character,
Yes.
but it was still a few years before you started answering on interviews and
Yeah, I
stuff like
remember we
that.
went to San Antonio and the interviewer asked questions and just put the mic in my face. And I was like, I don't, and I didn't want to do like during his taping go, he does that. That's not me. So I responded, and your look on your face was like,
yeah, because
I guess we're
I
doing
was,
this.
I was ready to answer the question, and I was just
Yeah.
completely flabbergasted that you
That I actually spoke up
actually
and
spoke.
that was that one time. And I've answered a few
Yeah,
other
yeah,
ones,
yeah,
and
you
I'm
got-
here. I showed up.
That's right.
I didn't go. I'm out.
Well, that's
So
that's
to be
good.
fair, I would have dragged you in anyway.
that's true. That's very true.
Yeah,
And I've been okay with that.
that's what we keep Brian around for.
So let's see. Went through the origin story. Tell me about you.
Well, so talk about origin stories.
Oh,
So
okay.
Dim and Wit have an actual origin
Oh,
story,
God, I
right?
remember this. It's so bad. It's so bad.
So when we don't want to tell the well, we were
Canadian
just
anime
the
story.
Canadian anime story, or the we were just being silly for Halloween story.
Yep.
You know, the where did Dim and Wit, the characters, what was their origin story? So the story is that Dim snuck up and pinched a witch.
And we were lumberjacks.
We were lumberjacks.
That's
And
okay.
we were at a bar, at a pub, and Dim went over and pinched a witch.
And then
and
we got
she-
changed into fairies.
Yeah, she cast a spell on us, and when we woke up in the morning, then we were fairies. And
Oh,
so
that's so bad.
that's
But it does sound like me. I mean, let's
it
be
definitely
fair.
sounds like
it does sound like
yeah.
me. It just that's such a. I think it should be all ambiguity. They're all true, and they're all false. It's Schrodinger's story. It's
whichever
basically
one you choose
whichever
to
one
believe.
you choose to believe. They're all true. Just one of them isn't true at the same time. But is it true or isn't it true?
Yes, that is the answer. The answer is yes. The answer is
And so we've been
42.
doing this how long?
over 14 years, right? So we started at Halloween of 2010. So we just had our 14th birthday back in October
I thought it was our 13th.
24. No,
Didn't we just become teenagers?
no, yeah, we're actually officially teenagers now. Now the good thing is, being guys, we don't have to get any older than 14.
That's
So
we never. I
no, you guys don't get any older than 14
ever.
because it's all fart and dick jokes from here on.
Yeah, pretty much. That
So-
that makes that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So, what is the? Tell me about you. Like, what are you into? Like Dave.
What is Dave into?
Yeah, because the people that are listening to this know Dim and Wit most likely, unless they come across this by accident and they're really confused right now.
Right. So, I actually have a job that's not being a fairy full time. Surprisingly, it's what pays for us to be fairies when we can be. So I do. I work in computer security. I work for a chemical company here in Houston, and I found a passion a few years ago for teaching computer security and educating folks on how to interact with the digital world in a safe way. And so I actually I've been doing it for a long time now, but I actually got a chance to do it full time a few years ago. So that's what I do full time is I teach security awareness and education and teach people how not to click on stuff.
All the phishing tests.
Yeah, all the phishing test, all the vishing test, now starting smishing test. So
I'll have to get you
We'll
to explain
have-
that one later.
we'll have to do a scroll of definitions of what those things are.
Absolutely.
So that's what I do professionally when I'm not working and I'm not strapped into Wit. Then I do woodworking, right? So some kind of general woodworking, furniture and picture frames and stuff like that. But my passion is wood turning. So I use we'll put our Instagrams up later. But if you happen to have followed my Instagram, you'll see pictures of some of the bowls and plates and cups and stuff that I've done over the years. It's funny because that was one of the big benefits of COVID for me was I'd kind of stopped spending time out in the shop and hadn't touched my lathe in a while. And with the lockdown during COVID, I started spending a lot more time out there and kind of rediscovered my passion for that. And so that's what I do now. Sorry, I'm tapping on that's my nervous tick. So that's what I do as hobbies. I read a lot.
You read a lot.
I read a lot, and I usually have 3 or 4 books going at one time. A couple that I'm physically reading or using an e-reader, and then I've usually got a couple of audiobooks going at the same time. I mean, not at the same time, but if I'm in the car by myself versus if I'm in the car with other people, that kind of thing. I've got a really long drive to work now, so it's over an hour in the morning and an hour and a half to 2 hours in the evening. I never thought I'd be that guy, but that's where we're at.
And we share a passion.
And we do share a
Actually,
passion.
the three of us.
Yeah,
The three of us share a passion.
that's how we met originally, was Dungeons and Dragons, right? So when third edition came out, a mutual friend of ours by the name of Skippy introduced us to each other. Actually, I guess he introduced me to you, Dave,
Mm-hmm.
and then you introduced me to Brian,
Mm-hmm.
and we started gaming together.
And Brian and I have been gaming together since we were 15, 16? Somewhere in there.
1989 or 1990.
Man, just put my age out there. But
so that
we've been gaming together.
we've been gaming together since 2002, I
Yeah.
think, something like that.
Yeah, that's where we
And,
spent most of our time together.
Was
Before you were married, before anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Suzanne and I had just started dating, right? That's the whole packing the gang in the car to take the grill over to her house to borrow.
As we're all being nerds sitting in the car looking out going, it's a girl. He's talking to a girl. All like just see our eyelids over the windows out of the truck. We're all like, oh, he's talking to a girl.
So yeah, and Dungeons and Dragons is a big part for us still, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
we now do it twice at least a week.
Yeah, I run a game on
And then-
Thursdays,
and we both
and I
get to
play
play
in a
with each
game on Mondays. And it's
Mhm.
funny because both Mondays and Thursdays, it's the same group of people.
Mm-hmm.
We just did a shift left, and a different person DMs on one night on Mondays, and then I DM on Thursdays. And then we have our game with the three of us plus, Suzanne and other
Brian
and
yeah.
Brian and.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. So we talked about Mondays and Thursdays. We play Dungeons and Dragons. We play Dungeons and Dragons in a shop called Golem's Gate
Oh yes,
down in Sugarland. I guess technically Stafford.
Stafford. Yeah.
Which is
So it's basically
Sugarland
on
Light.
90 and 59.
Yeah, it's on
For
on Highway
everybody who
90,
lives here,
just
everybody who doesn't live here, you need
look
to
it
move.
up. Yep.
Everybody else lives here. I mean,
Yeah.
there's-
So Jason and Tama own the shop, and
good friends of ours.
They've become good friends of ours.
We're actually playing with them this weekend.
Yep. They'll
So-
be at my house this weekend,
Yeah.
playing in the big room. But they've got a great gaming shop, and they have people run games there every night. Everything from Magic the Gathering to Dungeons and Dragons to Star Wars, you name it. If it's a board game or a role playing game, they've usually got somebody playing it at some point.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, go to meetup.com and search for Golem's Gate, and you can find their schedule and you can sign up for games.
Once again, not sponsored yet, but look how hard we're working for them.
But they allow us to pursue our passion
True.
by just hosting, right?
Yeah.
Having a place for us to do this.
Yeah.
So that we're not, I mean, it's great that you guys are willing to drive out to my house a couple of times a month, right? But trying to do it every week or during the week,
during the week that
just wouldn't
it's
happen, right?
It's an hour and a half for me.
So it's
one way.
It's a great space for that kind of stuff.
It absolutely is.
And,
so
so that's kind of me, right? So Dim and Wit, Dungeons and Dragons, woodworking, man glitter. That's what I like to call it.
Yep.
Right, making sawdust and wood
yep.
shavings.
Not with real glitter. We don't play with
Yeah, we don't play with real glitter. We found that out early on. Was
real glitter's
real
the bane of everybody's existence.
Yep.
So I'm a father. I have multiple kids, and
Right.
so I have Dim's son
and fur babies.
and we both have fur babies. So we both are avid cat people.
Right.
So I have two. I have Spriggy and George. Um, George is about the size of this table, and Spriggy's about the size of the head of this microphone. So, yeah. So I my bigger passions other than D&D, which that's a big one. I love movies, love watching all types of silly B movie, everything from like old school 1980s horror films that nobody has ever seen to
Bubba Hotep.
Bubba Hotep. That's a good one. Psychos in Love. That's another great one. Nobody, like, I ran into a group of people at one of the horror conventions when we went to that knew what it was, and that's the first time I had run into anybody who had seen it. It's a bad movie. So, and that's pretty much me. I mean, I got 3 kids. They're okay.
Yeah, they're okay.
They're okay. I'm joking.
What's
They're
funny is
actually great. I mean, I'm so
they are
lucky.
they are really good kids, and considering how you grew up, the stories I've heard about you growing up, you were very lucky with your kids.
I wasn't the best person. You happen to be a Eagle Scout. You happen to be the one that
Band
followed the
nerd.
rules,
Yep.
the band nerd. I have pictures of me with hair to the middle of my back, wearing an AC/DC jacket, and that's it, basically. Um, my mom was great.
Your mom was a lovely woman.
She did she did the best she could. I was not always the best person in the world. When I was younger, anger issues, like most kids, but I got into a lot of trouble. I bounced around schools. I graduated. I made it through high school, but that was pretty much as far as I went. But made out okay. I work in IT as well. I work for a hospital system here in Houston. So I work at a hospital. So I walk around in my brightly colored shirts, which is also a product of Dim and Wit. Right now, I'm wearing dinosaurs in spacesuits. So yeah, it's not something you normally see, but everybody at my hospital now expects me to wear very bright and colorful things.
Yep.
So during the go live, they would say the guy with the bright shirts, and they would just be like, Dave, all right, we'll send him over. Everybody knew who I was. So, you know,
It's good to have a thing, right?
yeah, and they know that they can, as long as they know they can count on you and they want you to keep coming back. Hey, they keep giving me money. That's really what it is.
That's right.
So, so Dim and Wit, we'll go back to talking about us.
Okay.
'Cause, you know,
Left turn.
that I figure we've already talked about us. Do we want to talk about Brian? No. So,
I'm not the talent.
okay. I
He's-
figure
He is talented, though.
he likes D&D, and that's about it. That's the only thing we. Oh, and doing podcasts. That's it.
Apparently.
That's all.
Now.
That's all we care about. So why did you want to do this? Like, what is your number one thing that you take home from this?
So this feeds several things for me, right? So I've always liked being in front of people,
Okay.
right? I don't think I would ever qualify as being like exhibitionist or anything like that.
Okay.
But even in Boy Scouts, I was always the one that volunteered to lead the sing-alongs and run the campfire programs and stuff like that. Being in front of an audience was something I enjoyed doing when a lot of people didn't enjoy doing it. And so being Wit helps kind of feed that, right? I get a lot of attention and a lot of positive attention.
You do?
I know, so shocking. I have to share with you, but that's okay.
I'm all about sharing.
Yeah, yes, you are. So I would say that's one of the things that it feeds for me.
I think the positivity is what it does for me. It brings a lot of positivity in my life. The hugs, even the ones that catch me off guard, where there's someone that we've gotten emails from somebody talking about how we positively affected them.
Right.
We had a gentleman that there was a security person, and he was a rather large man who looked very intimidating. And we walked right up to him and asked him for a hug. He did not expect it. He was kind of reluctant. He gave us a hug. We showed him love. We moved on.
Right.
About a week or two later, I get an email saying how it affected him and how much it meant to him and how bad of a week he'd had. And nobody hugs a person like him. Nobody, everybody's intimidated by him, wants nothing to do with him. And we basically had made his day. Dude, I remember sending that email, forwarding it to the team, going, okay, I'm not going to be the only one crying
Right.
at this.
Everybody gets to cry.
Yeah, everybody. Here we go. And so forwarding that with stuff like that, the things that that we've experienced with people. Now the kids that come up going, I've gotten a picture with you every year since I was 2 years old, whatever it is. I'm just, no.
Yeah. Now
Oh.
they're 26 or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the things like that, I think that's what it does for me. I was very much not the person that wanted to be in the front. I didn't volunteer to be in front of people. I am now, much more than I was. I did not want to be noticed up until we started doing this, and then it became something that I was much more comfortable with. I still have anxiety, on top of anxiety about different things.
Usually when we go to try something new, right? 'Cause
Absolutely,
there's always that
absolutely.
little
I
voice.
yeah, absolutely. Before we got here, I'm like, oh, we're gonna see how this goes. This isn't good. So I was listening to really loud music on the way over here, trying to keep my brain from talking and talking and talking until I got so nervous. I was like, I'm bolting, like I, almost done multiple times. When we first did Dim and Wit at the festivals,
Right.
I always had anxiety before. Yeah, usually had somebody trying to calm me down before, and then
Well, in that first con that we went to, right? Comic Palooza here in
multiple.
Houston.
Yep.
I
Yep.
remember we were both anxious
yeah.
about how we were going to be.
How are they gonna accept us? Are they gonna laugh at us? Are they going to,
Tell us we're stupid.
basically boot us out the door?
Right.
I absolutely thought that was what was going to happen.
Yeah. How far did we make it before the first picture?
It was probably about 15 to 20 feet.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And
then we got surrounded with Iron Man, I believe. And this was when Iron Man had just come out, I
Right.
think. And there was an Iron Man and us taking a lot of photos. And then we basically, after that, I was like, fine.
Right.
I was A-okay. It's usually after that initial part, like, now I'm fine.
Yeah. As soon as you see
On my way to here,
that first face kind of light up
yeah,
and get a big
You know
smile
you're
on
gonna
their
be okay.
face, yeah, you're like, okay, we're going to be okay, right?
and it doesn't even now it doesn't really happen like new cities and stuff like that. I'm usually like, nah, whatever, and move on. But it was always something. If it was something brand new that we had never done before,
Right.
absolutely, I was a ball of nerves.
Right.
So that's always been something that I've had to deal with. Anytime it's something new, I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I'd rather go back and do the things I'm used to doing and the things I'm comfortable doing.
Well, and I would say that's one of the other things that Dim and Wit does
it's
for
helped
me,
me.
right? Is it takes us places that we would not have gone
Mhm.
without Dim and Wit, right?
Absolutely.
Not just physical places, right? So, I mean, we did Renaissance festivals before Dim and Wit.
Absolutely. We did all the ones. Well, a good portion of the ones in Texas.
A good
You
portion
did
of ones in
outside
Texas.
of Texas.
Yep. And then, Suzanne and I had done a few outside of Texas, but we would never have done the number or the variety
No.
of cons or festivals that we've done if it hadn't been for Dim and Wit.
So Kentucky.
Kentucky. I mean, we were invited to
Arizona.
that one, right?
We were invited to that one.
That was one of our first ones where somebody reached out to us
and asked us to come.
asked us to come. So that was 2012,
Yeah,
I think.
I think so.
Yeah, that was one of our first out of state
And
trips that we made. I know it was the first one that we had to
Yeah.
fly with wings.
Yes.
And I think we actually shipped them. No, we packed them in the suitcases, or did we? No, we shipped them.
I think we shipped
That was
them.
the first one. We shipped them. We put them back in the
learned
boxes.
better now.
And now we know how to pack them in suitcases,
Yeah.
so they're able to ride with us. But yeah, that first one we actually shipped them to the
Yeah, we-
hotel, and then shipped them from the hotel.
I don't
back
think
to
that
the
hotel
house.
ever got cool. It was so hot.
It was, yeah.
I will say another thing that I'm very avid about. I love whiskey. Not exactly drinking it. Like I will drink it every once in a while.
It's like
but
the
I'm not-
idea of whiskey.
I love knowing about whiskey and love collecting, and I have way too many bottles for the amount that I drink. So, but that was the first time that you and I went to Maker's Mark.
Yeah. First time we went
That
to a
was
distillery.
so much fun. It was such a good time.
Yeah, and Maker's Mark it's a very cool place,
Mhm.
and their tour is fabulous. But if you go to Maker's Mark, it's because you're going to Maker's Mark.
Yeah, there was nothing else there.
There's nothing. It's like the Jack Daniel's distillery is right there on the side of the freeway, right? You can see it as you drive along. Maker's Mark, you're 40 miles from anything.
Yeah. When we got back in the car, there was no internet.
Yeah, there was
And we
no
were
cell
trying to-
signal. There
trying to
was no
drive out of there.
GPS signal. There was
Yeah.
no anything. We had to stop for directions to get us back to the highway.
Yeah.
And when I say stop, I stopped and sent you in
Yeah.
to the sound of banjo music to
Yeah.
ask for directions.
Yeah. Just leave the deliverance kit in there.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. So that's why I do it, right? So it there's a bit of Lancelot syndrome in me as well. I enjoy helping people, and I think that Dim and Wit lets us help a lot of people either get past their anxiety, to get them to where they feel like somebody's out there that they can trust, and things
speaking
like
to
that.
that post that I made, I'm guessing it's 4 or 5 years ago now.
It's probably longer than that.
Probably longer than that. I made one where I talked about my issues with a lot of stuff. When people bring that up, it still catches me off guard because I'm like, you read that? Like, it helped you? Because I've had my darker days.
Right.
I definitely have. And it's anxiety and depression and everything like that I've dealt with forever. And so that being able to voice that out loud and people,
Respond.
realize that they're not alone.
Right.
It's not something that you're expecting. It's not something that, when somebody comes up and starts talking about it, when I'm like not mentally in the same spot that I was when I wrote it, not ready for it. I've gotten a lot better about it now, but it knowing that you're able to help somebody, even in, with speaking to what is going on, I mean, it actually, that has helped as well. Because
Right.
I realize I'm not alone, when I speak about it. So that's another thing I think that it's helped with.
Yeah. I think that we give a lot of love, but we get so much more back
Yeah.
from the community. Even the people that we never see or hear from again,
Mhm.
in the moment, we get a lot of positive.
And then sometimes we'll
Energy.
just get a lot of positivity from folks we've never met.
Right.
You
And
know,
that's
we'll have somebody share our picture and it makes the rounds. And next thing we've got people that are in Australia that, are showing us love.
right.
And up in, until the pandemic, we were planning on going.
Right.
And then the pandemic happened and that one just went out the window.
Right.
So Yeah, it was a
Yeah, I think an out of country trip we still need to plan, whether it's Australia or
at some
Europe or
point. Yeah,
something
I
like that.
think
I'd like
we've
to
talked about
put that back
London.
on the list.
Um, I want to go to I want to go to Ardbeg so bad. That's
Yeah.
in Scotland.
Yeah, I'd
It's
be
a
okay with that.
distillery.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
England, Scotland, Ireland. That's on a bucket list.
so producer Brian's writing that down, so he's going to pay for that.
Um, yeah, I don't think that's the way that works,
Oh,
but he
well,
might arrange the GoFundMe to pay for
I
that.
don't see that happening either. But
Yeah, I don't think he's adding that to the producer job
yeah,
list. Okay.
we've already been told that producer only has the producing credits for the things he wants the producing credits for.
Right.
I know my role.
Absolutely, it's an important role.
Very important. Very important.
Herding fairies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
keeping us in.
Well, we always need our handlers, right?
Yes, we do.
They keep us pointed in the right direction,
Keep us out of trouble.
and we've had a few over the years.
Yes, we have, and they're amazing. They are fabulous.
They are fabulous.
I mean, we're fabulous.
We are fabulous.
They're amazing. How about we just
Amazing.
absolutely? Suzanne, Vanessa,
Yeah. Allie in her time. We've had
Monday.
Monday. Yeah,
Mhm.
Monday started us off, right?
Yeah.
All props to that, right? She
Dealt with this back
she
then.
dealt with us at the very beginning. So
Yeah.
props for that. I mean, and the people that we've met along the way that I mean,
Yeah, we've had people that have joined us for short bits of time just to,
well, we've had people sub in with us,
Yeah.
right? We've had out, we've had half, we've had
all the other half.
knit and pick the parents.
Yeah.
You mentioned your boy Dim's son,
Yep.
right? We've had people step in and participate with us. Lots of people supporting us, right?
Yes.
It makes me think about the Corpus trip where you had your suitcase stolen.
Still gets brought up. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, out of the back of the vehicle, my main suitcase that had both pairs of my boots and pretty much all my clothes except for my shirts. My shirts were the only ones that did not get stolen.
Right.
And called you up, and you were driving in that day. You hadn't even left.
I hadn't
yet.
even left the house. Yeah.
So had nothing, and we were going to the convention.
Right.
So we had not, hadn't
Yeah,
even,
it was Friday night, right? That
Yeah.
that it was stolen, and you found out Friday night when you went back out to the car or something.
Yeah. And I think that if that had happened at the end of the weekend, it would have been a lot worse because I was beside myself. I didn't think we were going to be able to do the convention. Didn't think we were going to be able to. We had come back from adversity before where we had left our wings.
Right.
And we bought teeny tiny wings and virtually had to staple them on our backs because we needed wings. But we hadn't had anything this big.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
the
would say that's
boots-
probably out of 14 plus years.
That's probably
That's the closest we came to.
hang it up. We've
hang it up.
always said, and we both have said this from the very beginning, we do this for fun. This is our vacation.
It certainly doesn't make money. So
Yeah, we do not make money. Everybody fusses at us because we haven't had a Patreon. We're looking at it now. Late to the party for all of these things, the podcast, everything. But we basically, it's a lot of money, and this is what we do for fun.
Right. This is our vacation. So.
This is where we spend our vacation is what we do. And it's well worth it.
Yeah, but
That time it was, if it had been, because you grabbed everything you had.
everything that I had collected up to that point and just threw it all in a suitcase.
And then
I had
you
the
also
laser,
made a sign.
I had the laser cutter, and so I made a couple of free hug signs, just off the cuff, to slap together, and just ran down to.
I wore Converse.
Yep.
On
Or your
concrete.
Chuck Taylors. Yeah.
Yep. And we made it through the day.
Suzanne had got the embroidery machine out, made you some pop-up blockers.
Yep.
and
Because those
I
were all
carried
stolen.
the wings, so the wings were okay, and you had
Yep.
your shirts because they were on the hanger.
And it
And,
was very it was very devastating and enheartening at the same time. It was very much like we can still do this.
right.
We can make it through anything.
Right. We could figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
What got me was the outpouring from
Yes.
the community when they found out what happened.
Oh, they were mad.
Uh,
There
well,
have been many a time
people
that
were mad, people were upset, but people wanted to
cared.
know how they could help.
Yeah.
Right. So I
And-
think we did a small GoFundMe for you.
Yeah. And it was
mainly
great.
mainly to replace the boots. Right. That's the most expensive thing.
So our boots, this is one of the other things that we get asked quite a bit.
Yep.
Our boots are done by Son of Sandlar. Our very first outing, I don't remember what type of boots I was wearing. Probably just black pirate boots.
So
I think.
it wasn't that first one. It was the first time to Sherwood. So it was just a few months. We
Exactly.
were only a few months old, right?
But
so
I think that I don't even know if I had any type of shoes other than
I think
my
you were wearing.
black boots.
I think you were wearing your black boots. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were wearing these little, like, really bad
Yeah. Amazon purple and yellow elf
little
shoes.
elf shoes. And we went through and we met Son of Sandler. We met,
Right.
actually, our very first time, what I was trying to say is we got a picture with someone. Her name was Laura.
Right.
And she sent me a message saying, you need to stop in. We can make boots. So we went into Son of Sandlar at Sherwood,
Right. Met
ordered
Eric.
boots. He said that his dad would never work in pink, so they wouldn't make them. But he would make them. He would
make sure that one of the cobblers there did them for us. And I remember standing at the counter saying, well, okay, I want this, right? I want the pointed toes, but I want them to curl up and back.
Mhm.
And he's like, we can do that. And I'm like, I want the boots to be shorter, but I want them to fold down so that you can see the inside of them as well. And so that I've got a way to hang bells off of them and make them, jingly boots. And so he sat down with me and we kind of sketched it out. And then we talked about colors, which at the time our colors were all pink and purple.
So both sets of our first
Both
boots.
sets of our first boots were pink and purple.
I got
and
merchant boots that had
you got the
fold over, and then they had the logo on. Those were the hardest things to get on.
Yeah, those
They were
merchant boots,
great.
'cause there
Loved 'em.
were no buttons, right?
There was no buttons. There was not. You just had to break your foot into them.
And yeah, so they got the logo embroidered on them.
Mm-hmm.
They had to custom dye the leather,
Mm-hmm.
but they were fabulous. And yours got stolen, but I still wear the pair. I mean, it's 12, 13 years later.
Yep.
And
we
still wear 'em.
We walked at Dragon Con
Yep.
in the parade. Was it that pair or was it the second pair?
No, it was that first pair.
It was that first pair. We had
Yep.
only worn them once.
Yeah,
And
that
we
was
got them right before
2012,
Dragon Con.
Yep.
And we walked 1.5 miles or 2 miles in the parade
I'm
up
pretty
and down
sure it was 16
hills.
miles.
It
Certainly felt that way.
it definitely felt that way. But in fat terms,
Yeah.
my gut thought it was
In fairy miles.
yeah, ferry miles. We walked a marathon, full marathon. Actually, I feel like we ran because it was Hotlanta.
It was, yeah.
So it was great. I mean, they worked fabulous. Having only worn them like one other time and not for very long, walking 2 miles up and down hill on concrete, no blisters, feet felt great. That was probably the best part of my body that was feeling at the
Right.
time was my feet. They felt great. The rest of me probably did not feel as good because it was hot. But then at Scarborough, do you remember seeing somebody across the way?
Oh
wearing-
yeah. So, there's a gentleman who has had a character called the Fairy Godfather that's done the Renaissance festivals for years.
Yep.
He's got several characters that he does, but Fairy Godfather
He's always
is the one that we've always enjoyed. And since the very beginning, I mean, since that very first day before we were even Dim and Wit, people asked us if we were him or if we were related to him,
and we were like, no.
yeah, we're not anywhere that cool. But we had the opportunity to run into him and get to spend some time with him.
He taught us so much in 30 minutes.
How to work with crowds.
Yeah, he absolutely. He took the moment to come over, tell us how much he loved us, how much he loved our gimmick, how much he loved our characters, what we were doing, everything. And we were like, oh, thank you for not yelling at us.
Right.
You know, that was like, we weren't
trying to steal your stick.
We weren't trying to steal your stick. This was just, it fell in our laps. we ended up doing this, and, you know, by no means, we completely respect you, but man, he took us by the hand and went, okay, we will never move from this spot if we don't start moving. And this is how you do it. And this is all while we had like 40 or 50 people around us taking pictures. I remember that conversation because it was completely broken up. Like, you and I would stand there until everybody got their picture, and we wouldn't do anything.
Right.
We would not move for 30 to 45 minutes. And he was like, no, this is how you do it. You take a picture and you take a step. You take a picture and you take a step in the direction you want to go. And eventually, as you were slowly taking the crowd with you, you will get to where you need to be. And he was like, and right now, we need to go different directions. So I'm going to take a step that way. Y'all take a step that way, as I point in different directions. So,
well, we do have video. So
yeah, true. But if they're just listening to the podcast, so
they can use their imagination.
So, yeah, I mean, he was wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's been many, many years since seeing or heard from him. But there have been so many people that we have had the pleasure of meeting. So many of the Renaissance folks that have been, you know, just fabulous, and we've learned so much from them. You know.
Yeah, I mean, especially once we started traveling and hitting ones out of state and out of Texas, right? And we started to meet the same people over and over again.
Absolutely.
As you know, we kind of discovered this Rennie culture of people who that's how they make their living. That's what their job is, whether they're musicians or roadies or
such fabulous
magicians
people.
Or whatever.
Comedians, jugglers,
just
singers. Entertainers. That's really what they are.
Yeah. So, and we've made some really good friends with those folks along the way.
Absolutely.
Right. So shout out to the Tortuga twins, right? We love you guys.
Iris and Rose. Rose and
now
Thorny.
It's Rose and Thorny. Yeah.
There have been so many people that we have met over the course of doing this that have been just amazing.
Yep.
So, but actually, what I was talking about, you went in a different direction.
Yeah.
Than
Sorry.
No, it's all good. I enjoyed because I was like, oh yeah, that's that too. There was a lady we saw across the way.
Oh, okay. You're talking about Angela.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. So we had store-bought wings, right?
Yes.
And I'm talking like
super cheap
Walmart Halloween.
And then I'd
wings.
taken little puff balls and glued them onto the back, so that I would leave a little trail of those throughout the day.
Right. And so we were walking through Scarborough Fair, and this lady walked by us, and she had the most magnificent butterfly wings I have ever seen. They were absolutely amazing. And so we stopped her and asked her where she got her wings so that we could, contact them as well. Turns out she made her wings.
Yes.
And that she had a shop online called On Gossamer Wings.
Mm-hmm.
And so so she gave us her contact information and her website, and we went online and said, I really like, she had dozens of different styles. And
We picked out ones we liked, and we took a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one, and we have
Again, we
stuck
went-
with the same design since.
Yeah, we went with pink and purple as our colors, and a few months later, we shipped them to it. In fact, that was 2012 as well, because
Yep.
we actually I don't know if it was the first time we got to wear them, but it might have been was Kentucky.
Yeah.
And you had the normal size pair, and I had the little bitty tiny pair
Yep.
because it looked funny have the big guy wearing the little bitty tiny wings.
And now we just have one size fits all.
Now we have one size fits all because you couldn't see them on me in pictures,
True.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe you could see the little
Little-
antennas sticking up over the side, but you couldn't tell they were wings
Yep.
unless I was turned to the side or something, as I turned to the side for the microphone.
So,
Yeah.
speaking of turning to the side, one of my favorite stories was your parents' 50th wedding anniversary that we went to as Dave and Dave.
Right. Suits and ties.
Suits and ties, looking sharp.
Yeah.
They line everybody up for a photo, family photo, including me for some reason. I don't know.
You're on one end.
I'm at one end, you're
I'm
at
on
the
the
other.
other end.
What did we do?
As soon as the camera pointed at us, we both turned to the side, popped the knee, and kind of gave a little look at the camera, and then both at the same time, without talking to each other, went, "Oh, right, straight, play it straight."
And
With
we
the knee
both
down,
and we both
square up to the
looked
camera.
awkward.
We both
Like
looked
it was
very
the most
uncomfortable.
awkward photo of two guys trying to, like, it looked like the bookends of just what is wrong with these two people who were like hunched and just like arms.
What do I do with these things?
I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was funny. I mean, we'd been doing it for enough years.
It just
that
was second
it
nature.
Yeah, anytime somebody pointed a camera at us, we just posed.
Yeah, we were completely relaxed, and we were like, okay, until we realized we were not.
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah,
win.
wrong. Yeah, play it straight.
That's always a hard one.
Yeah, that's not as easy as it should be sometimes. But yeah, so that's a great story. So yeah, so Angela with On Gossamer Wings, she still makes our wings.
Yes.
They've gone through a few iterations, the same pattern
Just now
over
they're-
the
they
years.
definitely
Now
look
they're a
different.
different material
Mhm.
to where it's material that
And-
she can print on, so it's can
Yeah.
put our logo on it and stuff
Which is
like that.
Just amazing.
Different colors, right? We've added blue
And
and,
shimmer.
and orange, and they've got a good shimmer to them.
They look great in pictures.
So speaking of our logo,
Yes.
where did the logo come from?
Logo came from Obsidian Abnormal. So we had a online community basically dedicated to a web comic, a Ministry of Abnormality,
Right, Ministry of Abnormality.
and O is from Colombia.
Right.
And he wrote these comics, and they were hilarious. They were amazing. O is a fantastic human being,
And a great artist.
amazing artist, and he teaches. If you look him up, Ministry of Abnormality or Obsidian Abnormal on YouTube, there are many videos where he discusses art and as he's doing art.
Right.
Actually, he's done several of our D&D characters.
Yep.
He drew them while he's talking to you, which is the most amazing thing ever, because then you get to be like, hey, what about adding this? And he adds it in immediately as he's talking to you. Some of my turtles have been drawn by him. So of my many different D&D characters.
Yeah, and we knew long before Dim and Wit ever came around.
So we basically kind of told him what we wanted. So we did the outline of our wings, the same
Yeah, used
pattern
the
as our
pattern that we
wing.
got from Angela.
And then he put you with Fraggles because that was when you first started.
Yep.
And then he put me with the hat that I had found at, I believe, I think I got it at Texas Renaissance
Yep.
Festival.
Texas Rizal feels at Zutsu.
Zutsu, yeah. I got the hat from there, and it's a Tibetan celebration hat. It's for their festivals there.
Right.
And I have had probably 20 or 30 of them. Most of them have come from Canada,
Right.
from Jelly Bear and some other friends, Jess's, up in Canada that found them at different places in Canada and then bought as many as they could that they thought would fit my head. Some of them did not.
Right.
They cut off all circulation
You
in
got a
my
big
brain,
noggin,
which
so-
and that didn't change anything. It's not like I need blood
Well, you
up
are
there
dim,
anyway.
so yeah.
Absolutely. And then it was very much I had different hats with different colors. I now have like other things I wear sometimes,
Right.
but
Different hats, but
yeah, that hat was definitely a turning point for me.
right. That was a big part of the characters were right
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Now, the boots, the wings, and the hat was where it, and then Cherry making me shirts. That was another one
Right.
where I felt like, okay, doing much better.
Yeah, because my dad made you a couple of shirts,
Mm-hmm.
and then Cherry kind of stepped in and started making you
dad.
shirts.
Your dad making me a shirt, and he's like, okay, well, this is just a prototype. I'm so sorry. It's a prototype.
Right.
And it was beautiful. Like, it was almost like a silky material. It was white.
Yeah, white
all
with,
white.
with white on white.
So it was very much kind of like, it was basically, I remember. Okay. Sorry.
Time check.
Okay. Time check. Hopefully that can be edited out. Like the long pause of us going,
What was that? Okay.
sorry. But no, that was amazing. That was, it
Yeah.
was,
So
because he did such a fabulous job. Like I could have worn that shirt anywhere with
Yep.
absolutely no problem.
yeah, that which is funny because he taught himself to sew because my mom refused to make him any more Ren Fair clothes or ribbon shirts for powwows or
All
stuff
of
like
y'all
that.
are talented. I have nowhere near the talent that your family does.
Yeah, it's just different.
Mine, yeah. I'm nowhere near as talented. Your dad does like chip carving and
Yeah,
like,
dad's a wood carver and
and
stained
all-
glass,
all
and
kinds of
cake
stuff.
decorating and calligraphy,
all
and
this stuff.
all the stuff.
You do
collects
a
hobbies.
good portion of that as well. And once you retire, you're absolutely going to probably start picking up all kinds of hobbies. I just play D&D and look cute. That's pretty much it. Those are the best hobbies ever. So I don't look cute.
So what else? What else we need to talk about?
Oh, what do we need to talk about?
You ready? We haven't name dropped yet.
I'm trying to think of what else.
So for me, it's right. You mentioned the boots, Son of Sandlar. I mentioned the wings on Gossamer Wings. We mentioned the hat. For me, it's the tutus, right?
oh, yep. Okay.
So my friend Wendy made the initial one.
And then we
Suzanne
just-
made a couple.
and then you've got
and then
the really
I've-
frilly ones.
Yeah. So now I get them from My Favorite Dress, which is a shop at the Texas Renaissance Festival, and she makes my my tutus and my tulle.
4/4s.
Yeah, my 4/4s. Thank you very much for me, because and yeah, those are the big things, right? Suzanne
Those
makes
really are the big things.
Yeah,
Like we've
Suzanne
got
makes
a
my
whole
shirts.
bunch of other stuff.
we get the
And you better name drop her.
so Suzanne, yeah, that's my wife, Suzanne. She also collects hobbies, right?
Yeah, she does.
But sewing is one of them. So she makes my shirts. We get our tights from different places, right? So we get originally we got our
Color.
tights from We Love Color, which is still where we get our summer weight tights
Yes.
for when it's
Legging
hot
less.
outside, because they're colorful, but they're also breathable. And
The-
then we get a lot of our tights from the
Legging lass.
Legging Lash. Yeah,
She is amazing.
yeah, she's got a great.
I have sleep pants from her because she does Pokemon sleep pants. So I have
Yep.
all kinds, and I've worn them to fairs as well.
Yeah,
So-
and they all have pockets.
They all everything has a pocket.
Everything she sells has pockets.
Everything she sells has pockets.
So that's the
Um,
Legging Lash, and that's our big ones. And then we have
We have a lot of.
a lot of folks that, especially when you had your stuff stolen, the amount of knitted gloves and hats
Yeah.
and socks and things like that came in from all of our friends
Mm-hmm.
You know, the pop-up blockers, right? Both the
Yep.
originals and the new ones, right?
Yeah.
You know, Grandma Voss is the one that made the original ones,
The
right?
original ones, and then Brian and
Cherry,
yeah.
yeah, made the next few, and so yeah, that's, you know, we've had a lot of help along the way.
We had a lot of help along the way.
Okay, so what do we want to talk about now? We've got about 15 minutes left before
I
they're
think
gonna.
it'd be a good thing to address appearances if someone wants to see
Okay,
you in
yep.
person.
So, in March, I think that's our next event.
Yeah, March, Sherwood Renaissance Festival.
8th
Sherwood.
day trip.
Yeah, March 8th.
March 8th day trip, and then the weekend of the 22nd. Is that correct?
And then the weekend after that is the wedding.
Is it?
Yeah, the
Okay.
29th.
Okay, well, okay, I may have the wrong dates down. Okay.
But
well,
yeah, so we'll be there as Dim and Wit
on the 8th
on
and the
8th,
29th.
8th and the 29th.
Okay. All right.
Probably the weekend of the 22nd, make another day trip as well. This is Sherwood Forest Fair
in McDade, Texas.
in McDade, Texas. So you can see us there. So that we
Then,
know.
Our Big Daddy.
Comic Palooza, which is in June this year, right?
June 20th through the 22nd. That is a big one.
That is a big one for us. That's the first convention that we did as Dim and Wit back in 2012. And they've been huge supporters of us along the way.
We love Sherry.
We love the whole entertainment. The whole entertainment
we
group.
We entertain lines. We walk around and entertain people. And
we've got a table that we set up there.
Yep. Typically, it's against the wall as you would enter. If you turn right around and look at the wall, somewhere down that wall, we're usually right there by the
last several years we've
the
been
exit
up against
door
that
or
front
the
wall.
entrance door, one of the two. So
yeah,
that's
so we'll be
always a
doing
good one.
that. That's always a big one for us.
And then we're going back to a convention that shut down for a little while, but is now reopening, and that is on either May 3rd or May 4th. We will let you know more, getting closer to it.
Right.
We'll be making a day trip to Waco, Texas.
For Heart of Texas Con.
Hot Con.
So Hot Con,
so
which is generally a pretty good
we
description of it.
We always have a great time.
We've enjoyed that one. We were, again, that was one of the first times that we ever were invited to attend something, was the very first Heart of Texas Con
in Waco. Yeah,
in Waco. That was 2014. I want to say
Somewhere in
they're gonna have to comment and tell us what the actual
how
date
badly we
was.
did on our dates.
But that was the first time we were at a con with a table as
that
invited
was even before
guests.
Comic
Right?
Palooza gave us.
That was before.
Yeah.
That was our very first. Very first. We had no idea what we were
We
doing.
didn't know what we were doing. We still don't know what we're doing.
We had a banner made up for that, and
we've had banners made up and lost them, and we've had then we
found
found
them again, and then lost them again.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is what I have right now. I know that that's like the first part of the year, and I know more is coming.
We've talked about Michigan.
No. Well, we've talked about Michigan.
We've talked about
absolutely.
Michigan.
I every time the last several times that we've talked, you've been like, "We're going to Wisconsin, right?" And I'm like,
I was trying
no.
not to say Wisconsin, but it's Minnesota.
Minnesota.
That's the one we're looking at.
We've been to Wisconsin twice.
We've been to Wisconsin twice, right?
For Gary Con,
for
which
Gary
was
Con last
D&D
year,
and was wonderful.
But that wasn't Dim and Wit.
That was not a Dim and Wit event. That was.
And then the couple years before that, we were at Bristol.
Bristol, not Sterling.
Bristol Renaissance Festival.
And that was.
Had a great time there. That was a great trip.
The weather there is amazing.
I think you're right. Minnesota is the one we're looking at for this year.
Yeah, and that's the Renaissance
I've heard really
Festival
good things
there.
about that one, and we got some friends that worked that one.
We are also talking about a not Dim and Wit event. That would be
Gen Con.
Gen Con.
Right. Looking at Gen Con.
So you'll probably see us in dim
That's
and
in
wet shirts.
August.
If you see two big guys with beards that one says dim, one says wit, yeah, that's us.
That's us.
And I think that's pretty much it for where we're going to be next. As
yeah.
of right now, there will be more before the end of the year. We'll be going back to the Texas Renaissance Festival. We'll be going back to
what we haven't talked about yet, but we probably will do is Houston Horror Film Festival.
Oh yes,
and
we always
Texas Frightmare.
Texas Frightmare is like probably every other year, if not every 2 to 3 years. Dragon Con is usually every 3 to 4 years. Yeah. Frightmare is every 2 to 3 years. Houston Horror Film Festival.
It's your local, so yeah, we'll do that all the time.
We have so much fun. We are so scary.
Yes, very scary.
I wear a black sock, and I am scary.
Practically goth.
We are horrifying.
For many reasons.
We probably haunt the dreams of so many people there. So.
All right, we've got a hard out coming up soon.
All right.
Let's inform people where they can reach you on the socials or if they have questions for the show.
Okay.
dimandwit.com.
Yeah, and that's dim, DIMNWIT.com. So when we say dim and wit, it's literally dim in the letter N and the WIT.
And only one T.
And only one T.
Absolutely. Instagram, you can find us on Dim and Wit as well. Facebook, we have a Facebook page that is Dim and Wit, the Fairy Brothers. If you type in Google, I did this today, type in Google Dim and Wit, DIMNWIT. That's the first thing that comes up as our Facebook page.
Okay.
So you can find us there.
We have a YouTube page.
We have a YouTube page, which is probably where this is going to go. We haven't used it in a long time. Yeah. This is the first one of these. So we're going to probably resurrect that one from having not been used for quite some time to put up the video.
So if you want to see some older content of us.
Or younger.
Yeah.
Yes, younger.
Yeah.
Much younger.
Much younger. Our beards still had color to them besides
absolutely.
White.
We are talking about getting a Patreon. We have not figured that out yet. We probably will by the time this is aired because I have a laundry list.
And you will personally thank each and every Patreon.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, that's true. We'll scream you out.
Yeah, we'll do shout outs in the Oddcast.
So probably the next podcast, Oddcast, will us for about an hour just naming off names of the millions of people that are going to start following us immediately.
Right.
Isn't that how that works?
So how many followers do we have on Facebook now?
It was right around 13 to 14,000. So that's our biggest platform. Instagram, there's a lot of folks that are on my Instagram because it was more
we have 15,000 followers now.
Yep. So it was my Instagram, my personal Instagram, where you can follow me, is dim_of_dim and wit, I think it's.
I'll play your silly game. I think it is.
Let's just say we'll include that in the show notes.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, that's why we have a producer, because we don't know these things. We're just here to be pretty.
I know mine. Mine is Wit Fabulous.
Yeah, yours is Wit Fabulous. And you just, because you automatically you'll see his wood. So.
Yeah. But I'm bummed.
Take that as you will.
I had to. So.
And as we wrap up the show, I think it'd be a good idea to remind folks of your credo.
So if you can't find someone kind, be someone kind. And hugs heal.
Just be nice.
Yeah, be nice. If you can't be nice, be kind.
Yeah, absolutely. But I really think that has been one of the best things we ever came up with is you can't find someone kind, be someone kind.
Yeah.
Because it is so...
Speaks to a lot of people.
I mean, our current shirt that we have says kindness matters across the front. And it just speaks. It speaks to so much right now. So
Okay, so we're getting the wrap it up sign.
we're
So
about to be yelled at.
And producer duty here. I want to remind each and everyone that dim and wit aren't something to keep to yourselves. Share this episode with the world and tag us on the socials when you do.
thanks, everybody. This has been a lot of fun, and we will do this again soon.
Love you guys.